We have found a donor, and you will never believe who it is. Welcome to episode 9 of my second Battle with Cancer series, where I take you along the ride of everything from the guilt, shame, depression, pain, happiness, positives, and upcoming events, and everything I can find with this journey. So after a long wait, we have finally locked in who my stem cell donor is going to be. And he is, drumroll, not LeBron James.
Psych!
And unfortunately, it is not LeBron James, despite what the title says.
So that was a f***ing lie.
Honestly, as cool as it would be for LeBron to be my stem cell donor, it's pretty much impossible. But, you never know. I was hoping to come out of this thing, more athletic and maybe at least add a couple inches to my height. Yeah, but I know that's not going to happen. Okay, so how does the donation process work for a stem cell transplant? Well, it's honestly very similar to what I've gone through. You have to put your body through a super physical, so you have to make sure your body is okay to donate stem cells. Once you get checked off through all the heart tests, lung tests, test everything in your body. Once you've been given the okay from the donation committee or a doctor or whoever it is, I honestly don't know who does it, then you're okay to donate. You get put into a big organization. They kind of match your DNA, right? So there's like a 12 out of 12 protein that they look for or try to match. And I think depending on the kind of ethnicity you are, you have different protein structures. That is super scientific for me that I'm not going to get into. Boring. Basically, they look for as close as a match as possible, and then they match you with whoever they can find that is as close as possible.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
So with the DNA protein strands, I know for me, it is 12 out of 12. So when they are looking for a donor, they're looking for someone to have the exact same 12 DNA protein strands that I do as well. So then it has the best match.
2,000 years later.
Once your body is cleared okay to donate stem cells, you have to go through what I've gone through a bunch, and it's the bone marrow biopsy. But rather than taking a small sample and sending it to a lab for results, they take a lot from your pelvis. They take a lot from your bones, and they build up a lot of bone marrow and stem cells that they derive from your bone marrow, the donor's bone marrow.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Then they store that, and you can either do a live donation where it's fresh, and that means it's like given to the patient within 72 hours of its collection, or you can freeze it and get it later down the line. That's pretty much how the donation process works, and we finally have someone who's willing to do that for me. So that is just amazing news.
Get your numbers up. I had to get my numbers up.
So initially in this stem cell donor process, they try to go with any full match siblings that you have first, because they have the highest success rate for transplants, least amount of side effects. Basically, it minimizes the amount of things that can go wrong with it all. So we went with my brother. He's a full related sibling. He's 4 years younger than me, pretty much the exact same. We tested him to see if he would be a match, and after waiting a long time for the results, unfortunately, he wasn't a complete match.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
With that little square that you learned back in chemistry, it pretty much gives your full related sibling a 25% chance to be the exact same DNA structure as me. And unfortunately, it came back as he is not 100%, he's 25%, which makes sense. He's either going to be the same square as me or a different square.
It's over.
Turn it off.
So we had to go further out. So what do I mean by further out? I literally and figuratively mean we searched the world. So the Mayo Clinic took my protein structure and everything they know about me and put it into a database of donors. The transplant coordinator then starts matching me with as many people as possible. They start with the protein structure and find everyone who has the best match. And for me, that's 12 out of 12. So they took all the people who were 12 out of 12 and then they knocked it into, are they male or female? And then brought down the males. And then they brought how tall is this person? Like, what is his hair color? What is his skin color? All these different things that go into basically trying to find another version of me in the world so that they can save my life. So if there's ever a good time to be a 5'10" white guy,
What do you mean by that?
it's when you need a transplant. Because once my data was put into the global research of everything, I had over 4,000 full match donors, which that's insane. Don't get me wrong, like that's a lot. Like I've been very blessed to be super basic in that sense.
In the words of one of my actual friends, you're basic.
But the challenge then became getting that person to donate because they have to take a lot of time and energy out of their life where they don't get paid. They have to put their body through a lot of physical things for someone they don't even know, for money that they're not even gonna get, for nothing really. It's truly just the kindness of their heart and feeling maybe a bigger purpose or passionate about helping someone else. So just to touch on the donor pool thing really quick, I was very, very lucky to be in the position of a 5'10" white male dude. From what doctors have told me and doing my own research, there are a lot of people out there who really struggle to find a donor. And that sucks. Even the anxiety I had just going through this and waiting to get a donor lined up, I couldn't imagine if I didn't find one or the match wasn't even there. They're like, oh, instead of a 12 out of 12, the best we could do was a half flow, a 6 out of 12, or 10 out of 12, or whatever it may be. There's a lot of things that make up the donor pool. I would say probably two of the biggest ones that I noticed is if you're African American or Native American, it is very challenging to get a stem cell donor of the same match, of a full match, just because the pool that they have to pull from isn't very big. They do not have a lot of people who have signed up to donate because, and I'm not a doctor, so if I say something wrong, I'm sorry, but this is basically what I've done through research and heard from my doctors, is as much as I would love for Lebron to be my donor, we're not the same like ethnicity, so our genetic and genes can't be the same for him to be my donor. And I think that's a struggle because the majority of the donor pool is white, is Caucasian. So if an African American person is trying to get a stem cell transplant, it's super challenging because they don't have too many other African Americans in the donor pool or willing to donate their stem cells for someone else. And even smaller, I believe it's less than 1% of the entire nationwide donation pool is less than Native American. Another thing is, I believe there are certain cases where you can use a female stem cells for a male or vice versa, where you can use a male stem cells for a female, but they really try against that. The male population is much higher in the donation pool than the female. So if you're African American woman or a Native American woman, it is going to be so challenging to find a full match. And what my doctors have told me is most of the time they end up just having to do a half-low parent who is at least half genetically the same because that's the best that they could possibly find. With that said, just go donate. All it is to be part of this donation pool is a blood test, and that's it. And then maybe one day you will get a letter, an email about how you can save someone's life just like mine. I also find it very interesting, according to my doctors at the Mayo, about 80 to 90% of the transplants they do, the donors come from Europe. It's very interesting. A lot of the citizens and countries out there require their primary resident citizens to be a part of this donor pool. Okay, so who actually is my donor? I don't know. I do not know. I know he is 5'10". I believe he's 27. Actually, the only thing I really know is that he's a dude and he's very similar to me, and he's a 12 out of 12. So that means he has the exact same genetic protein makeup that I do. 100% the exact same. And that's the biggest thing. I know that he is somewhere in Europe. I believe it was Germany, but after talking to my transplant coordinator, I don't know. They don't really get that. You pretty much just get a number for the person, like an EIN, the basic physical information of the individual, but you never get anything personal about the individual. So I find that very interesting. But we have a donor. He's somewhere in Europe. It's a young man like myself with the exact same genetic makeup as me. When I found out that I had a donor, I was so excited. And you know what the first thing I wanted to do is like write a thank you note to him. And I actually can. I can communicate with this individual, but with a lot of red tape, which I find very interesting. I can write a thank you letter, but it can't have any personal information of mine. I can't be like, hey, here's my number, call me. Here's my email, do this, right? I want to really say thank you. I cannot know who they are. I really can't, and they can't know who I am. It's to avoid any kind of bias down the line in case I need more stem cells or another transplant, and they don't want the donor to feel obligated, and there's a lot that goes into it. But with that being said, we can still say thank you or, whatever I want to over email. It has to go through a hospital's check, and then it has to go through a third party's communications check off to make sure nothing fraudulent or crazy is being said or done in the email or letter that I'm sending. But there is hope to find out who this person is because I believe 2 years post-transplant remission, I know that is quite a mouthful, but basically 2 years after I am officially done and beat cancer again, I can have full access and know who the person is. Not like their primary residence, but I can know who they are. So, something to look forward way down the line when I beat this thing, when I beat cancer, is to find out the person who saved my life with their stem cells somewhere in Europe. Now, I know he's out there somewhere, and the probabilities of him watching this video are basically zero, but just in case, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time out of your life to help save mine. I can never be more grateful or more appreciative for you doing that. So thank you. And thank you for supporting me through my cancer journey by watching these videos. It means the world to me, and I can't say thank you enough. So just remember, if I can find a donor in Europe within a month of my life, know that there really are no limits. Thank you so much for stopping by on episode 9, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.